Hello, welcome back to Hope for the Home. My name is Natalie, and I'm going to go solo today without Jason because I had a little bit to share about my morning and buying curriculum. I went to Mardell, and I'm going to say right off the bat, I have nothing against Mardell. I absolutely love their store. I shop there all the time, sometimes too often. But when I went to buy my curriculum this morning for our 11th child, we have always used Saxon Math for all of our children. We love it. We're probably not going to change. But we as parents are seeing the effects of our budget because of inflation. And so I wanted to talk a little bit and encourage those families that are seeing it from clothing to our food budget to our electric bill and certainly our curriculum. So I went to town this morning because I had some errands to run, and where I was, Mardell was really close. Now, typically I will buy in bulk and all my curriculum will come in a few boxes so I can save on shipping. But this particular day, I just decided to, on a whim, just go ahead and get it out of the way because he was really needing it and I needed to get him started, and I felt kind of pressured, which every homeschool mom knows that if you're not prepared for things like that, you're probably going to pay the price. And I certainly did. So I don't know if you can see the price on that, but it says $87.40. $87.40 for Saxon Math book 1 and 2. So it's 1 year, but it has 2 parts. And so again, not to say anything about the curriculum, but I'm like, where are these prices coming from? With tax, it was $94.48. And I thought, there's just no way. I'm paying $100 for 1 year of math for a 5-year-old. I literally didn't have words, but because I was in a pinch, I really needed it. I didn't have my phone on me at the time, and so I couldn't look up the prices. But I thought a year and a half ago, or maybe it was a little more, I remember getting it for who's now 6 years old, my daughter. I grabbed the same math as I always have for all 11 of our kids. We've always been in Saxon, and so I just picked it up for her, and I remember seeing it was like $47 or $48. Well, at that time, that was more than double, because when I first started with our first child in Saxon, I remember it being under the $20 mark, like $18, $19. And so that, I thought that was a pretty good price. So everyone knows inflation is kind of like just, it builds on itself and it takes decades to get here. So I know this does not happen overnight, and I don't want anyone else to think that either. But $94 was too much, and I'm still, I still have no words, really, you can tell. But I went ahead and did it just because we needed it, and I thought, well, if I have to take it back, I can always look up prices on different places that I can buy it from. And if it's a significant amount that I'm going to save, I'll go ahead and just take it back to Mardell. They're really good about that. So getting back to my 6-year-old, it was over a year and a half ago when I bought her the first one. And I remember it being $47, $48. It was double and a half what it was even with, I'm thinking my 5th child, it probably rose about $10 or $12 since the very first child I had. So it went from like 18, 19 to, 5 kids later, probably $29, $30. And I thought, wow, this is really picking up. But then by the time you get to 9 and 10 kids, you don't really expect it to double what it did when I had the first child. But within like a year and a half time, it went from 48 to $94. I still repeat it to myself because I almost just don't believe it. And again, this is not an issue with like Mardell or Saxon or anything like that. We're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it in our clothing. We're seeing it as we feed our families. It's just, it can be really overwhelming. It could be frustrating. And I could get really upset if I let myself. And so this is where the word comes in to play in my life, because I have to be grounded, and things don't make sense unless God really reveals it. Excuse me. God really needs to reveal it to me for it to be, for it to make sense and me to have clarity in all situations. Inflation affects everyone, but especially homeschool parents who have children at home all day, who are cooking and using the lights, and everybody's eating 3 or 4 meals a day, snacks in between. So we are really feeling the hit of a lot of these things. Paper and ink, I understand, costs more. And so, if they're printing curriculum, you probably just would assume that the bindings are costing more, whether it's the glue or the ink on the paper or just the paper itself. We get that. We understand that. And I really, I hate that. I don't want homeschoolers to be discouraged, especially ones that are just starting out, seeing that curriculum is expensive. So we have to understand that this has been a slow progression over time, over decades. This has been going on. And so now, that it's hit us really hard, we're just now thinking that it's happening just yesterday. And now the effects are everywhere. No, this has literally been a slow progression. I don't want anyone to think that this is an overnight happening. And so therefore it's not an overnight fix either. So also, don't look to the government that they're going to get this changed overnight too. We have to pray for our leaders that they're doing the best they can. They're being as transparent as possible with finances. And we are seeing, decades and decades of past presidents and bureaucrats spending taxpayers' hard-earned money on things that we would never agree to. So in those moments of frustration, when you watch things that are out of your control, I want you to remember these 3 things. God always allows hard for our good. I know that's totally foreign to some of you, and it's almost a concept that we have a hard time. I do anyway, because I thought, this is really difficult. Jason's going to say $100. Like, does he really need that? Can we maybe improvise and you get his math lesson all written out and he could just do it because we've done it 10 other times with the other children? I get that. I understand that. But I do also know that God will use the difficult for us to draw near to him and be dependent on him. And in fact, I've got my Bible right here. Romans 8:28 is actually a beautiful example of all this. But I'm going to back up just a little bit so I can start in verse 24. So again, that's Romans 8:24 through 28. For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why doth he yet hope for? Verse 25. But if we hope for that we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but that the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. I don't know about you, but that is beautiful and something that I really cling to. And I needed to hear in the moment of, what is going on and how is this affecting Christians and homeschool parents, and what do we do about it? This is what we do, because it's truth. And because it's truth, we get clarity from it. There are going to be trials, and that's number 2. So number one would be God allows all things and difficult things for our good because it draws us near to him. And so we're promised trials. And James, let me see, James 1, let's see here. James 1, 2 through 6, actually. We're promised trials. And so count it all joy, ask for wisdom. I mean, there's so much wisdom in here that we're going to not only have clarity from, but we're going to have peace that comes from reading God's truth. So James 1, 2 through 5. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, and knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. It's beautiful. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. And I don't know about you, but I do not want to just flow with the crowd and be tossed around like the waves of the sea. So I'm going to go back, and you see what it says here. It's count it all joy. So in trials, I can't tell you how hard that is. I'm sure some of you have experienced this, but that's really hard to experience joy in trials. But if we look at it like, God has a purpose in it. And so we should be the most joyous people on earth, especially in the trials, because people are watching, especially the lost. And of course, my very favorite, I'm being completely facetious at this point, the trying of my faith works patience in me. For me, this is the hardest thing, is like, are you serious? You're going to try my faith and test it because it works patience. And it is something that I don't like, but it is also something that God uses because it builds our faith in him. And the next verse talks about wanting nothing. We should desire nothing from this but the goodness of God. And I love verse 5, is that we have to understand that we don't always have discernment and we lack wisdom. And so it's beautiful because he says, if you lack wisdom, ask. And I love that because I lack wisdom all the time. And who better to go to than the creator of heaven and earth? And, he is the designer of our life. And so he knows better than we know ourselves. And number 3, God is sovereign. He, it really just means that he has supreme authority and control above all things. And so we don't have to worry because no matter what happens on this earth, he has supreme authority. I don't know about you, but that makes me feel so content and so at peace because no matter what happens, if he's in control, then he already knows what's going to happen before it even happens. So why am I sitting worried about inflation and the prices? If I am to buy this curriculum, or if I am to buy this, this bulk item of food or whatever, clothe my children, he's sovereign, and he knew that we were going to have struggles and trials, and that we're supposed to count it all joy. And so he is the supreme authority. I don't have any doubt that he's going to take care of my need. Now, I might not need that math curriculum. We can get creative as parents, and we need not worry because the supreme authority has the final say. Nothing happens without God's permission. We find this to be true in Colossians 1. We find it to be true in Isaiah. We find it to be true in Ephesians. I think chapter 1, maybe 1 through 6, 4 through 6, something like that. I'll get my Bible out and I can put those links below if you're interested. But I just don't want anyone to be discouraged with what's going on in the world. So number 1, God allows hard things, right, for our good. Number 2, there will be trials. And number 3, he is the sovereign, almighty controller of everything, that allows and he gives, he takes away when he wants. So don't be discouraged by the things that are happening around us. Cling on to those 3 truths that I gave you, because all of creation and human interaction is on purpose. And because of that, it's going to be for his glory. So let's not forget God's truth and the scripture that he gives us to encourage us in times of difficulties. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, if you don't have a community of homeschoolers that are like-minded, you need to jump into that. Not only is it important for you, but it's important for your kids too, to also have a community of like-mindedness, because everybody is just constantly needing to encourage each other. You know, homeschooling is difficult at times, especially on the person who is either buying the curriculum or teaching the curriculum. It's not an easy job. It is hard, but man, I can tell you it's so rewarding, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I don't have any regrets in the curriculums that I buy, the money that I've invested in either music or extra things that go along with homeschooling. I just, every day I don't love it, but I know it's worth it. And God tells us that where we sow those seeds, we will reap in a different season. So if we can hold on to his truth in times that are really difficult, I think it's just going to help uplift you and give you more peace. And, the goal is just to spread the gospel, and that's exactly what you're doing with your children. So I hope this is encouraging to you. And if you have any questions, I'd love to either help you get started or just give you an encouragement. So God bless you, and we will see you next time.
And he separated dark from light. And then day 2 was sky and water. And day 3 was land and plants. And it was all good.